Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Magic Show. This week we discuss our new standard environment and 8 spicy brews from this past weekend's Las Vegas Standard Open. Is it just Delver versus the Planet or what? Let's take a look. Well, first off, this past weekend was not won by Delver, who did make second, but was instead our favorite Walking Dead Black Red Zombies. Now, I don't know about you, but that Blood Artist is the actual business. Taking all of your Mortar Pods, Droff Messengers, and Grave Crawlers to Value Town, this is the creature that has largely put this deck over the top. But you can't forget Bonfire of the Jesus. Really, you lucky bastard? Because that card is dumb, actual stupid. But the real idiocy that we will be 100% sick of by the time it rotates. Right now, it's all fun and games, but 14 months in, we are absolutely going to hate this guy. Snapcaster is one thing, and a very big, overpowered thing at that, but Bonfire is a level of variance that tournament goers will be facing down for a long time. Anyway, deck lists. Let's look at a spicy one that almost made top 8. 9th place 3-color Control by Adam Percy. Now, this thing is sweet. Now, I'm pretty sure one interaction is good enough to make this deck tier 1. You take one overpowered mythic from M13, you add an overpowered rare from Avacyn Restored, and voila! Instant ass-kicking! But that's not all. This thing has all sorts of crazy stuff happening. We've got Desperate Ravings along with Devil's Play, Sun Titan, what? There's, of course, Captain Snaps, Blade Splicer, along with Whip Flares, Pillar of Flames, and a full bow to ponder. I can imagine the crazy diversity of this deck alone got itself beyond quite a few opponents. They're doing what over there again? Oh yeah, fireballing you to death and flashing it back next turn. Definitely a sick one, but could probably use some mana help. One card that isn't quite creeping in as much as I would expect it to is Thragtusk. For such a ridiculously overpowered card compared to basically any creature at this mana cost ever, only one copy in pod decks and red-green aggro decks seems very strange to me. But even stranger, those wacky blue-eyed Venser decks that always pop out in onesies and twosies. In 14th place we have Lloyd Watson's list. Check it out. Now, I love me a good blue-eye control list, and this one has some spice in it. First of all, if you're running Plains and don't have Restoration Angel in your deck list, you're probably doing it wrong. Talk about an auto-include for the next year or so. Secondly, that is a Cloud Shift, and it is ballin' here. Only one in the list, but with so many amazing creatures that it creates value for, I'd love to see that number increased. Meanwhile, Day of Judgment and Terminus take care of the baddies you face, and Gideon plus Consecrated Sphinx is big game for your endgame. Overall, I like the deck, but as powerful as it appears, it always seems to get run over by quick starts from more aggressive decks. Speaking of, let's bring some beats. How about a little mono green in your life? Featuring a money finish, Eric's deck is a beast. Also, how about that Revenge of the Hunted? Did this miracle sneak up on anybody else? Because I know I was surprised when the bulk rare stopped being so, well, bulky. There's no doubt the variance in that card is crazy pants, as you can't just build your own Primeval Titan plus lore and not expect some serious value out of it. It helps you alpha, it kills their team, it destroys their morale, and all for the low cost of a single green mana. Hell, even one for 6 mana in the late game is fine with me. I'm not in love with it or anything, but hey, spell's a spell, and if it wins you the game, sweet. At Pro Tour Dark Ascension, we had a wacky little number by the French featuring Unburial Rites. And Frites, as it's now known, is still a force regardless of the crazy number of Nihil spell bombs that exist in the metagame. Turns out Mana Dorks plus reanimation spells are quite the combo. Tyler Smith took his list to 15th place. Now the funniest thing to me about this deck is the absence of Gristlebrand. He's a house and legacy, but here it's actually Sholdred, Whispering One, who gets the nod. And you know what she's whispering? I'm gonna kick your ass. Otherwise, it's non-stop value as we work in Wild Guess of all cards from M13 to discard our fatties and draw some cards. For a deck with a single mountain, you gotta believe in the heart of the cards and dual lands to get you through, because as soon as your opponent knows what's up, those birds will definitely be dying the instant they hit the table. Bouncing back to the top 8, we have Shaheen Sarani's super sweet Monoblue Wizards. Yeah, not sorta Monoblue where they sneak in some white sources and Moorland Haunt. Nope, with a mana base of 15 islands, 3 Cavernous Souls, and a pair of Inkmoth Nexus, we're not playing around, and obviously he has the cash to show for it. Basically, Talrand Sky Summoner is no joke. Sure, he's just a 4-mana 2/2, but playing him, Gut Shot in your thing, and Tritaxian Probing, that's 6 power out of nowhere, killing one of their guys and having perfect information on their hand. Not too shabby. With Captain Snaps and those same spells, you're able to get one hell of an army assembled very quickly. All I can say is, if you see Talrand, kill him on sight. It's much like a turn 1 Birds of Paradise. You get the chance, you take them out. But let's dig deeper. Now look, I know I wasn't on board with Brad Nelson as he wrote a love letter to Trading Post in our complete set review, but I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. And based on the decks that aren't quite good enough yet, he's probably right. Take a look at Chris Higashi's top 100 blue-white Trading Post list. Now, Chris is a longtime brewer who rarely if ever plays the best deck, and it really shows here. We've got all kinds of craziness, including Gilded Lotus, some Wellsprings, Phyrexia's Court of Sachem, hell, even a staff of Nin showed up. With wraths and scary monsters, it does appear that one thing is missing. Grand Architect. How could you pass up the opportunity to power out turn 4 Trading Post with mana and artifacts still available to use all of its abilities? A deck that seems very close to awesome. I'm excited to see where it goes. But it's not just in blue-white builds. It's showing up in Mono Black Control too, this one finishing just 2 places outside of a money finish. While I'm far more in favor of Nihil Spellbomb than Graf Digger's Cage, the point remains the same. Trading Post is a force for anything that relies on Wellsprings to power their deck. Mutilate is obviously a 4 of here, along with a 5th copy in the form of Zenith. Add some Wormcoils, Solemns, and Batterskulls, and you got yourself a good one. As every Magic player has been trying to do for years, I'm hoping that Mono Black Control can somehow get there, and this is definitely a good start. But we're not done with those top 8 decks quite yet. Sure, Black-Red Zombies took it home, but don't forget the blue version. This one has a very interesting singleton. Disciple of Bolas. Hell yeah, I'll sacrifice my Giraffe's Messenger, drain you for 2, and draw 3. Can you imagine sacrificing the Phyrexian Obliterator after they somehow put a stop to it? That's just filthy. I love me a Disciple of Bolas and hope this is a trend for zombie decks in the future. But what may be the most interesting is the cards that haven't impacted Standard yet. Where's my girl Yeva at? How about my boy Johnny Collar the Pride? Come on, guys, there is no way he's not good enough. Maybe when Ravnica gets here? I got high hopes, but ultimately I think we've lived through the worst of Delver Summer. I don't think there will be any 50 to 70% Delver top 8s again, at least I sure hope not, and while the card is overpowered and a mistake and punches babies and the whole bit, I will see that the decision to not ban anything was correct, and we are enjoying the benefits of it now. Delver, still a thing, not the end of the world. Got it. What I do expect, however, is that as the metagame begins to shift and players begin to discover the power of these new cards, we won't be looking at top 8s that look anything like this in the coming weeks. It's funny how some cards just get a 1 of or 2 of here or there, and then bam, they're friggin' everywhere. I think Thragtusk is one, and Trading Post may be another. Who knew a 4-mana artifact with infinite abilities is actually good? So that's it for this week's show. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
Always like the fatties.